10:11. I don't know if we just flipped live, but if we did, good morning, everybody. All right, awesome, awesome. What are we on? Show number, is it 9, Todd? Is this number 9? That's a good number, man. That's up center of the 9's the center of the 8, the particle in the middle of the 8, and the 8 would be the space you're in. So it's the particle in the space, the corporeal, the corpse. It's yeah, man. It's good stuff. How you been, Todd? Oh, yeah, man. Oh, nice. That's cool, man. Is it let me see. Is it talk about like the kind of like the dynasties in China and like the philosophies and whatnot? Oh, jeez, huh? Just gets right to the point. Oh, so we can only hear one side, huh? Mic check, 1, 2.
Why?
Yeah, man. Todd, there it is. I mean,
Test.
it really is a blessing, dude. It's part of the show. I mean, it's some kind of divine, like, hold up, you guys were trying to do your human thing. We're gonna do some of these technical difficulties to show you that this is
Right.
gonna be straight from the source, and boom, man. It's all I kind of like it. It makes me smile. That's all, because you know what? It just shows you, the nothing's perfect, and that is perfect in itself. The fact that
True.
you don't have to attend to these high standards and just be the idea of perfection is not one-sided on some deep high end realm. It's a balance. It's the whole spectrum. I mean, why would you want to limit yourself to half of the toys on the playground? I mean, you've got the whole damn thing out there, the whole spread. I mean, you've got acute angles 0 through 89, and you've got obtuse angles 91 through 180 on a D, on the letter D sideways laying down like the sun rising. That's how much space you got. Can we hear Todd yet? Todd?
Yeah, he says we can hear me now.
Okay.
That's 13th Monkey. I forget. Is that Lee? Is that
Nice, Mike.
Mike? My bad. Sorry.
You're good, man.
Um,
All, all
but yeah,
brothers. So Mike couldn't hear you.
thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, it might be a new record. 5 at the start, man. That's sexy. That's
We're
good.
we're popular.
Yeah, man. Fucking egos, boom, through the roof. Um, all right, I'm just
But
messing around.
yeah, so yeah, I don't know if you guys heard me. My vibe, I guess, for the last couple weeks has been pretty chill. I've been focusing more on art and kind of taking a break from astrology and watching a guy called Sandman, who's like a MGTOW channel, which is about learning about female nature and learning. And he basically tells you not to marry women because it's a rigged game and all this stuff. But he's got real. My main thing I really like about him is that he talks about how the quote unquote state is just a really big circus, and I really like that. Plus, his channel's demonetized, so if you want to know like who they don't want you to listen to, that's a good cue right there.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
that's awesome, man. That's really cool. That's neat. I had a little path across something kind of involving the woman too when I was reading a little bit in this book, and it's the what the fuck is the damn book called? The Vikings of the Sunrise. I'm sorry.
mm,
And anyways, I'm going through that book, and it starts talking in there how there was this tribe and they were an offshoot of European Actors Guild, and they were the Tahitian Actors Guild. And this story is saying how all these actors in the guild, it was pretty much a cult of like an abortionist club, pretty much like a no childbearing club.
Oh wow.
and and the reason being was because you couldn't be on stage if you were pregnant and whatnot, and then having a child would kind of take you away from the duties of, the calling of the career of being an actress. And then when they would go around, it said, to the different communities, they had the best singers and the best dancers.
Hmm.
And they would always draw in the largest crowds. So they pretty much had the most eye appeal, right? I mean, you've got sexy voices, you've got, beautiful dancing, choreography, things coming together, and it overtakes you. And then it says that they use this power to gossip and to bring in their god Oro to replace the god Tane. And sure
What?
enough, and then it talks about this mythical battle of the god Oro battling the god Tane, which was the original god of the Polynesian Islands, who was a god of craftsmanship. He was like it was pretty much the Vulcan, I think. It was like the crystal ball that gives everything its visible nature. So you've got that, which is very important for this time of year sidereally. We just entered Taurus, and Taurus is a representation of everything that's visible. It's got bull in it, so you can bet your ass that the word visible and Taurus the bull, those are tied together. So if you take the wheel and you place Taurus at the top of the mountain, that's where things are the most visible. That's where they're the most pronounced. That's where they're the most married into this paradigm. That's where you have the most things becoming seen, piling into that 3% light spectrum that we can see. It's like the densest form of light that you can see and play with. And if you think of all the light inside of, let's say, just a brain that's in there, then you've got all these different spectrums of light. Light has weight and density to it as well. So I mean, you've got kind of the lower brain light operating around, which has purity to it in a way. Not just because it's lower, it's not bad or anything, but we're looking at that deep magnetic pole, that Pharos magnet, that big, large field, and it might even be something that falls down into the center, because it's like a 45-degree knife edge, like valley thing where water goes down the center. Like if you look at the word Scorpio, right, you're scoring something, carving in it with water. So it very much could be that tie into water world that we're in here.
Want to know something
Let's see
funny about Oro?
what do you got?
So Oro is in the game Street Fighter. They in Street Fighter 3 they introduced a new character. It's basically this. He's styled after like this Brazilian martial artist who I guess was really strong, but he's one of the strongest characters in the that story universe. But he's
Yeah.
basically a one arm, not one arm. He only uses one arm to fight, but he's a hermit, and like he's one of the strongest characters in the game, and he's who I pretty much play when I play that game. Um, which is funny because I learned about the word oro, and like it means gold.
Oh
And
wow,
right, yeah,
that's really
yes.
neat, dude. That might be like Lu, the thing we call the sun, the golden rays making everything visible, replacing the like that black sun, that true thing that the gold is reflecting. Because that's like, if you look at Oro, that's probably it's a pure Oro is reflecting the pure nature, right?
Hmm.
I mean, is Oro the most powerful?
Yeah, he's
And
considered one of the strongest in that universe, in that story. It's funny because my handle or my tag in that game when I play, I use it's Todoro, so Todoro.
wow, dude,
Yeah,
that's neat,
which
man. How many
essentially
we get
means
so many. Go
oh,
ahead.
it essentially means like blue gold, which I play the blue color, so he looks like Shiva.
Fucking blue gold, dude. Lu, that's Lu. I mean, that's the visible, like all that Lu, that Jupiterian blue sky with the yellow sun, that blue. Yeah, I mean, that's huge, man. That's the
Isn't that
whatever.
weird?
What game is this?
It's in Street Fighter.
Oh, Street Fighter? That's
Hmm.
awesome, man. I mean, I bet we could break down all the Street Fighter characters into,
Yeah.
different aspects. I mean, you got Vega, right? Vega's one of the Street Fighter characters. That's a huge fixed star.
Yep.
I mean, who's the guy? Who were the ones you fight at the end? You've got right near Vega.
Probably like
Do you
M
remember?
Bison, like.
Yeah, Bison, M
Hmm.
Bison. Yeah,
Yep.
man. Fucking, you fight the bull. You fight the visible, right?
Hmm.
You fight that visible lower material nature, which, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, and that kind of leads into what you were saying. You've kind of just been off creating art, beautiful things you can see, pulling things through, that you can see and whatnot. And that's the time of year it is with the sidereal Taurus right now. I think we're in the second degree, maybe somewhere in there. And
Yeah.
it's a time to enjoy the now, enjoy the moment. Just kind of, I haven't been studying too much either. I've been, like I was telling you, caught up in worldly activities a little bit.
Yeah.
um, Things you can see, and I think it's appropriate. It's balanced
Yeah.
to have everything. I mean, to be a balanced spiritual person isn't to just sit in one realm the whole time. It's an ebb and a flow. It's taking all the energies and translating them constantly. It's the constant thankfulness of the now, of the gift of the now, of whatever is being received. And I mean, the whole point of this thing is to use everything that's being received to the best of our ability. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's not even a moral statement. Like, I mean, best is something that shows you there's an ultimate design to it, which I'm a big fan of that. In this, I mean, it's a visible world, so it shows you that everything has to come together to provide and to hold up this realm. So it's a very much, I mean, it's a library that becomes visible when you don the library card of the human, and it's something that you need to play here. And I think it's the height of technology in the entire universe, donning bodies, donning light bodies, and
Hmm.
you're such a creator, you're such a master at this that you can't you've hidden yourself that good. Like, that's how good you are. You've hidden yourself in plain sight,
Hmm.
and you've thrown up every single distraction in the book that you can think of, literally, to keep you from seeing yourself. And it's like a contest to see which angles of yourself, of your own light, can find it the quickest, b find it them in the most qualitative way. All roads lead to Rome, and that's both ways. Roaming outwards, you're never going to find it out there, and then you've also got all the roads coming in to the center point. So the bottom line is if you find a road, you can find the path back to society or civilization. Like, if you're lost in the woods, you follow the creeks to the rivers to the roads, and that's how you get the fuck out, because people build shit along roads. And I mean, people build shit along rivers and creeks and water systems. I mean, it's what we've always done here.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've been taking a break too, man. It's been I don't know, Mother's Day and stuff. That was cool. Went up,
Yeah.
saw some family. Got a new mother on the way on our side, so we
Hmm.
went up to her place in Indiana and kind of relaxed, and that was really cool. Good
Nice.
people. Then yeah, man, a lot of kids softball, a lot of, just
Life.
mowing grass, doing dishes, man. I mean, and those
Yeah.
are the times, those, I mean, and all those moments are the times that are blessings, are meditative moments to think and to be inside and to feel, just to be, you get some spaces of quietness. I mean, that's why chores and service, it's a good way, it's a good meditative way to come to things. I mean, I get a lot of information when I go and take a run, or I go and do some dishes. I mean, that's when things flow to me, when I can give the human something to do, kind of distract it with some dishes or a run or folding some laundry or whatever the heck it be. Just something, it's a two for one. I'm helping some people out around me that could probably use the help, and
Hmm.
then I'm also getting some information coming in by distracting the human, so you can let that higher intuition kind of flow through you, and you can kind of be the filter that just sits there and grabs it out and kind of looks for the patterns and whatnot and kind of puts the pieces together. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to linearize it in a way to see it here. So, um, I mean, yeah, man.
Yeah, I still like I'm aware. I still am watching what's going on in the world and seeing a lot of interesting things, and it's been good. But yeah, it's definitely been a
Yeah.
time to chill out a little bit. Like, um,
Yeah.
it's weird because I still want
Yeah.
to work. Like, I still want to keep like. I'm already kind of overwhelmed with all the art because literally spent like a week straight just arting pretty much. So I'm like
That's
already, I already
awesome,
need a
man.
break.
Mainly drawing when you say that, and
Mainly
painting and
painting, yeah. Mainly, yeah. I haven't been doing as much digital stuff. I've been working on a video. I just put out a video of like one of my sketchbooks. It's like a tour video, just to show off
cool,
my
cool.
sketchbook. I'm probably gonna do another one because I have another book that's almost done. Which
That's
you know,
pretty cool,
that's
man. That's the way it flows. That's probably the way it's flowing into you and through you, you know?
yeah. It's a lot of work to make a video, so it's been fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Yup.
Let's see here. We got, yeah, in terms of like the news in the world, I don't know. I always got kind of one ear, kind of listening to what they're feeding everybody, and
Okay.
then it's right now, it's just seems like all the silly vaccination shit, and they're just trying to cause a division in the people between vax and unvax. So,
Yeah, it's goofy.
if you're on either side, the key is to just love the other side and balance in the middle. And that's the whole thing. If they get us caught up in division, whether you're for it or against it, they're gonna win that game.
Yeah,
It doesn't
best to
matter if
ignore
you're on
it.
the left or the right; those are both on a side.
Yep, don't propagate any of it.
Right. Right. Do you and support others. That's really what it comes down to. Don't be in fear. Either way, if you don't get the vaccine, obviously you're not too afraid. Fear isn't affecting your reality too much where you should be fearful of anything, and other people that are vaccinated shouldn't scare you. You should be happy that you live in a world where it's nothing's forced either way or the other. And they literally have to do all these things through the free will system. They have to get us to choose it, to do it to our own bodies and our own temples. So
Right.
that's a very, very beautiful thing to still have.
Yeah.
It
That's
gets
what's goofy
mechanized and
about it too.
robotic from here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like it's your choice. Alright, well then if it's my choice, then don't get mad if I don't choose what you want.
Right,
If
right.
you're
And
forcing
I
me,
was
then I choose self-defense. It's very simple. Use their own
right.
tools against them.
I was sitting at a baseball game last night, and I just heard a lady in front of me talking, and I heard her say, "You know what? It does bother me that people won't get it or don't get it. I think that's not okay, and I think they should be punished." And I just heard her ranting about it, and I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
just to think of the state of and that's not an uncommon stance. There's a lot of
Yep.
people that really feel that you're not doing your duty, like you're
Right.
literally like gonna fucking take this world down by not jumping on board with all of us. That
Yeah.
it's very, very silly, poor logic, and it baffles me. So the worst thing you can do in those scenarios is to just start arguing and engaging with a person like that in a public setting. It's gonna Unless you can find a way to get to love there, that's going to be a difficult path to love.
I
So,
just
I'm not
ignore
always
it
saying
because I
bite.
don't want to
Yeah.
contribute and propagate it. And like
Hmm.
the truth of it is I wouldn't even need to argue because all you have to do is ask a couple questions like, "Hey, do you know what germ theory is? Yes or no? Do you know that it was disproved in the 1800s? Yes or no?" If you can't even answer
Yeah.
those questions, it's like you're not it's not even worth
Yeah.
talking to them, because it's a total waste. And most of what those people say,
Hmm.
because I do hear that, and it's very odd how vocal people want to be with that subject, but
I know it.
it's
I know it.
canned
I know it.
responses, man. They're just the TV and the culture, right? And it's just like,
Hmm.
look, I don't really have
Yeah.
time to educate you, but like you're wrong, and you're gonna find out you're wrong, and I don't care. That's your problem. Good luck.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I know it. It's tough. Look, if you're already vaccinated, why would you? Isn't the whole point to pretty much so you're safe now, right? Once you got that,
Right?
all your
Yeah.
fear should be gone. Now but you're still scared that other people aren't getting it. So,
Yeah.
people should figure out that the only thing you can catch in all this is the fucking fear.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, if you catch the fear, you get into you're divided. And I mean, it's pretty much,
It's
I don't
on
know. If
you.
you think of
It's your
right,
problem.
prime numbers can't be divided, they can't be factored evenly. So you're going to get cut the fuck up. I mean, being factored from a prime number is different from being divided from a prime number. You divide 13, you get an uneven number. If you factor 13, you're going to get an even number. So it's pretty much you're going to go into a sine wave or you're going to become less of a particle from here. And that's your choice. You're going to jump from the 13 into a factor system, or you're going to fucking divide into a lower particle system. So, I mean, or you can stay right here. I mean, no one says you got to go anywhere. You can chill in the B, just hang at the
So
13.
So let's talk about 13 because I've been this is kind of my division point for astrology last week because and I noticed that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one Tartaria chat was talking about this briefly a couple weeks ago as well. And that would be the 13th sign and or 13 in general and
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
noticed a
it
lot of
causes a lot of confusion.
yeah, I well that so here's my issue, right? When I go and watch an astrology video or some astrologer and they go, "Oh, that's not a real sign," or they say, "Oh, it's this and that and the other thing about, how they can't use it in their system." I go, "Well, then in my
Your
in
system's wrong.
well, yeah, in my reality, because I believe basically like the John C. Lilly stuff, like any limits you believe in are your limits. So like you should believe
Right.
in no limits so that you can realize far wider spectrums of reality, right?
Absolutely.
So if you
Absolutely.
say that okay, a fucus isn't real, and then you go to another channel like some are like, well, we kind of do it for this or that, and like you can't find too many natal charts with it and stuff. And I'm just like, well, the Mayan system already includes 13 signs, and it already includes
Right.
20 signs for the days, and like their stuff's pretty good, and it talks about light and magnetism and electricity like right off the
Right.
bat, and I'm like,
Yeah. And the
so,
circle divided by 13 gives you the moon cycle, 27.692307.
oh wow.
So, I mean, the circle divided by 13, you're the 13 in the middle and you're dividing the fucking circle, you get the moon cycle. Come on. I mean, that's right there on par with the exact measurements. I mean, it's not a coincidence. So, the 13 matters, literally matters. It's the matter inside of the wave of 12. So the reason that people have this confusion is because the ecliptic is what the sun travels along. It does an S. It goes north and south. It makes like a sine wave up and down across the ecliptic, of course. It goes through a certain band of constellations. The typically on a tropical system, people want to just use 12 constellations because 12 is the measurement system of Jupiter, the 12 and the 24, the day. So it does, 12 matters. It sure does. And
Yeah.
when you want to use 12, you're measuring the wave. It's an even. So it's Eve. It's the female, it's the wave, it's not the particle in the center. So when you talk about the 13 and then you talk about Ophiuchus and the ecliptic running through a portion of Ophiuchus, it shows you it's connecting the wave to the particle in the center. So the 13th sign is the ascension line and the eastern edge of the mountain. So if you take a mountain and there's a high point in the middle of the mountain and there's a lower base and a circle around the mountain, the lower base is the zodiac going around the base of the mountain, and Ophiuchus is the point that the sun first hits on the east. And that point right there is a dot from the center, and it's a line down the mountain to give you the symbol of the power button or the ascension line. The dot, the line to the left, and then the circle around it. So
Hmm.
that in itself is the Q, is the 13. That's what this whole mystery is about. It's an alpha omega end in the beginning. It's a connection from the particle to the wave, and it's fit perfectly where it belongs in the battles of Scorpio. It's Ophiuchus. It's the hero. It's the return of Mars after he's gone through the day, after he's born, come into action, exalting down in Capricorn, He raises up over the Passover, and he starts raising things up into the light, into visible nature. He goes through all the experiences of man, and then he goes through the fall of man, and he gains wisdom from all of his actions, and then he takes that wisdom in the battles which are in the mind, and then he gains victory over the mind, and he ends up in the compassionate heart. And
Mm.
pretty much this is now where he acts, thinks, and feels from, which is why the fixed waters of Scorpio represent that fine point between the 32 and the 33, where you go from stillness, frozenness, into 33 degrees movement, adding fire to the water. So you have, when you're on the battles and you've won the battles, you don't win the battle by ending up on the left or the right. You win the battle by staying right in the middle and getting out of the emotional fire. So it shows you that that cool, fixed water, it's nice and calm because it's already been through the fire. It's already been forged. You've pretty much got your it's your badass light. You've got your brand new pure light that hasn't really faced the darkness yet, and then you've got your light that's been through the darkness and found the crystal in the center of the darkness.
Mm.
And that's pretty much where we are. Inside of every black hole is a crystal. So a crystal ball would emanate a black field around it because it would be the result of all light held within a pretty much a crystal sphere. And then so it shows you this is how black holds all the light in the version of a crystal. It's see-through. Okay. And then right here inside of this crystal, the crystal itself is what focuses the light and brings it into its visible nature. So you've got pretty much the ball, the crystal ball, the crystal ball is what's holding the image, and it's pretty much an entire system. The whole entire image system, or the Maya, or the illusion, is the polarity of the pole of the left and the right that goes across the center ecliptic path. So the west and the east line of Libra to Aries, Libra's the back, Aries is the front, and that is the one direction. So it shows you that when the sun does the sine wave back and forth across it, those are travels north and travels south. Those are into matter and out of matter each time. And then you're like a crystal. Keep washing the impurities out, becoming ever clearer and clearer. So the light that you shine is ever truer and truer. And your density becomes less and less. Your light becomes, ever increasing, more of a higher pinging nature, so that it's the quickest. So the second coming of Christ, that's when the seconds come in and pass the minute. So
Mm.
it's going to be an even quicker reality, and even more in your face. If you're not ready, it's gonna be massively confusing. It's gonna hit you like a brick wall. It's an intuitive stream that pours out from inside. It's the life waters of Aquarius. It very much is that dumping out of the pitcher of water. Is that H2O breakdown of water when you're taking the hydrogen off of it and you're putting the hydrogen up. And then, really, it's helping, it's building the oil system inside you. So you very much got a whole entire alchemical chamber that is the 13 sitting in the center of the 12, and it's taking contributions and gifts from them all. That's why if you look at pictures of Vulcan, you see Vulcan sitting there at the workshop table, and you see a line of the planets of Jupiter, Mars, Venus. Everybody's in line to get to Vulcan's table. And it's Vulcan's the one taking the orders. He's receiving the light, and then he's sending it out and giving you your form. So he gives, Pluto his, invisible nature, Jupiter the brass dog, and so on. He makes everything visible and come to light. And that's why you've also got Scorpio Ophiuchus opposing Taurus Earth visible nature. So it shows you the seen and the unseen right there. It shows you that access. So opposite the most visible is the least visible. So that's why the Scorpio nature, if you're on the dark side of Scorpio, you could be a very good criminal. You could be unseen, and you could have all the experience of everything you need to make very bad decisions and put your soul and your spirit in a really rough place, but not knowingly, because this is
Mm.
the only place you can choose right here. When you leave this area right here, when you step outside of the choosing system, choose sin, Chewsin, this is where you're supposed to be burying the sine waves and building a desire system that's pure. But so when you leave here, it chews you up and then it spits you out back in here. So it's like this is the only place you can adjust things, and that's a big, because you're just light inside of a crystal ball. You're practicing, you're in an image, so you can make and the image is what builds the seed. So the seed's packed with information, and this system is a place where you learn how seeds get information built into them, and then the seed gets put in the garden to grow. And you have to, in order to pack the information into the seed, it takes all the knowledge. You have to know what kind of conditions are required for things to grow in. You literally have to know everything in the book to pack a correct seed. And it's always about, what are you letting out of the box of Pandora's box. So you're making sure that the seeds that are getting packed with information here, that are setting up their desire bodies, their blueprints, that's all very readable. So you can see what you've built and what kind of seeds you've got in there, what kind of forms you're going to actually have access to. So that's why a deep imagination is key. Not shutting down any possibilities, like you said earlier, is key. You want to have a blueprint that has no limits. Or if you have a blueprint that has limits coming up, you're going to have limits coming
Right.
up.
Yep.
So keep your blueprint, keep your possibilities wide open. Any areas you shut down, you're going to have a wall there when you leave here, and you're going to have a block there when you come here. So
Those are your
get them down
limits.
while you right.
Your
And this
firmaments.
is the place where you break down the walls. This is the place where you do the soul work. The soul is on the bottom of the foot. If you notice, you can run in place by moving all your muscles, doing all the same movements. The only difference that actually pushes you forward comes from the sole of your foot pushing off the ground forward. Because the sole of the foot can push up, straight up too. To cause real movement comes from the sole. So this is a place where you can only actually move. This is the only place where moving is allowed, where you can adjust things in your soul to show the real body of your spirit. And it's very much time to move. It's time to make the movements, and to, to have the balance, the desire with the will where it's called for. It's very important to, set yourself up with a pattern where you can sweat and have actual, you know, shit coming sweating out of your head every day. I mean, you have to be able to move all the gases and stuff up and down you, and like spread them out. I mean, this builds your blood vessels, your nerves, all your different systems. I mean, constant stretching and working of but you're building, like, people don't understand, you have a living computer, like a biological electromagnetic machine that you're tuning in. So I mean, it's not just going to do that by sitting on the couch eating chips and playing video games all day. You've got to, like, take this thing and you've got to work it.
Yeah.
You've got to send it through the rigmaroles or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with chilling, so to speak, but
For real.
if you're just chilling and like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I binged on a lot of that YouTube content this week, but
Sure, dude. I
that's because
watched two
I
episodes of Breaking Bad last night and just relaxed. And yeah,
nice.
man. I mean,
Yeah, it's good to
it's
chill.
needed. It's needed. But the problem with, I think, with our culture nowadays is we've taken the areas we find comfort in, and we kind of max them out all the time. So we're a
Yeah,
society striving ever towards comfort, and you're losing things like work ethic. I mean, look around. You can't even pay people to do things anymore.
yeah, it's
I
getting
mean,
really crazy. I see on Twitter, I've seen a lot, which is odd, but people posting on what, like a fast food joint or some shit like that, where they're like, we all quit because like we're all being like, nobody wants to work, and then everyone's being treated like shit. So it's like very
yep.
interesting to see that. But I mean, what I think is very interesting, if you read the book Vril, The Power of the Coming Race, they talk about essentially this, I don't want to say point, because they have a magical understanding of the way their world works, so to speak. But they reach a point where their, for instance, their literature, you know, they go, we don't have better literature anymore because we've maxed out on what this literature does. Like, if they understand
Right.
light and magnetism, electricity inherently, and they teach it and they live it, then they
Right.
don't write a lot of books. They still do ceremonial magic or ceremonial spiritual stuff, I guess. But like, it's
Right.
just interesting because they essentially automate and they talk about having automatons that do all the labor and stuff, and they use magic and stuff. So their whole, I feel like with our system and what's the general vibe, I guess, is that people think like, oh, everyone's just gonna like lose their jobs and everything's gonna go to shit. It's like, well, maybe, but I think it's probably gonna be good, and I think there's gonna be a lot of people that don't need to work, and like you might have to
Right.
like handle your own shit, which is probably the only. I mean, it's probably a good thing.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just interesting to see because that book talks about how that culture operates, and I'm like, well, that just seems awesome. And they look at our culture as like barbarians. They're like, you fight each other, and like they're like they don't even see us as a threat, which is really cool. They're like, if we saw the humans as a threat, we would send a child to go destroy them.
Right.
So
Yeah, man, it's bad. Like it's really bad. A lot of things are being lost right now. It's a, I mean, and the way that you lose things is through not practicing them anymore. So, I mean, gardening, literally all the ancient arts that we've had for analog purposes that have gotten us through this analog world, they're trying to, really remove anything done with your hand. I mean, even writing letters. I mean, people
yeah,
are just using keyboards now. So to make an R, you press a cube on the
yeah,
keyboard. I mean, and to make a T, you press a cube on the keyboard. So there's no distinction in the feeling, I mean,
hmm
for an action anymore. So we're going to start to slowly, things are going to be changing because of the Ooh, I mean, because of the nature that you're building. I mean, we are powerful creators, so whatever you tell your system to do, it's gonna build it. I mean, you can do anything. So of course, whatever they're telling you to do and you're following along with, it's gonna build something. And I mean, I think that's why we're here in these times is to help, to help balance the insane nature that we're watching and that's attempting to go down. And what's really fascinating is when things like this don't work the way they want them to, they ever increase the speed of the other side. So if you have a virus and you go to attack it with your awesome, antivirus and it doesn't work, the virus becomes stronger because you took all your knowledge you had and put it into the antivirus. You gave it to the virus and the
right,
virus still said, "Oh, good attempt, but now we know what you're up to." And nope, not even close. We just got more strong.
yeah.
So, and that's how it works with crops, insecticides, and pesticides. I mean, that's how the whole
Mycelium.
entire system, right? Yeah, the fungi kingdom. I mean, the whole thing works that way. I mean, it learns from its opposition, and our opposition, they're they've been playing their cards for thousands of years, and the other side's just been taking it, sitting there, just really just taking it, observing, listening, taking it in the ass, just slaving away. And it's going to be a pretty big balance the other way. Everything they've tried at this point still has us in a 50-50 split pretty much. And that's just what they tell us. It's probably more like 70-30, I bet. I mean, when you look at the actual
Yeah,
numbers of
yeah,
vaccinated versus unvax and people that are fully
yeah,
on board with everything,
yeah.
I mean, and don't dude, I work for the federal government, so I mean a lot of people, I mean this system right here, you have to have a foot in both worlds to be balanced. You can't just hang out in the one or the other. You just can't be here and be a balanced thing without having a foot in both worlds. You've got to
Yeah.
stand in the middle between them and balance them both out. For everything the world on your left does, you need to go a little harder with the right just to balance it out to the middle. So it's a constant Aries Libra, finding the wobble spot on the wheel and placing the counterbalance point, on sometimes you need 2 points,
That's
on the
me,
wheel to
man.
balance it out.
I feel like
Yeah,
that,
so
like super in the middle because of listening to, between listening to Sandman and sort of getting his perspective, which in my opinion is like hyper rational, which is fine.
uh-huh.
And he is very intelligent. And then I look at like Because like I was going hard on astrology for like almost a year, just listening to like a lot of astrologers, trying to learn as much as I could. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
astrology seems to represent the hyper irrational aspect, while this guy represents the hyper rational aspect. And I'm here in the middle, taking everything with a grain of salt, and I got a big ass pile of salt
Yeah.
now. you know?
Yeah, that's astrology can be that way, and it's because I think a lot of times people get comfortable, or really I think what it is people like certain positions. They fall in
Yeah.
love with a certain type of, I mean, because every time you switch from a different method, you've got a different your constellation shift degrees. So you're placing the starting point at a different point. That's really all the difference is between all the different astrological systems is you're placing 0 degrees Aries at a different point. So draconian astrology, they place it at the pan point. So 0 degrees Aquarius is where you put the ascendant, and then everything falls from there, and they're measuring from a different point, so it's giving you a different particle, it's giving you a different story. When you put the sun as your center, you've got a different story. When you've got to put the earth as your center, you've got a different story. And so what I think all these people have been doing that are out there with YouTube videos and they're honestly good-hearted people, just they've found truths within themselves and they want to share them, and that's great. But you can't say that this one's correct or this one's wrong anywhere. That's not very astrological of you,
Mm.
to think that way. Each thing would be a tool, right? So one of the problems I see is that people like to preach either like, and I'm almost an example. I really like to only fuck around with sidereal astrology when I'm fucking around with astrology,
Yeah.
and that's for specific purposes. That's because I'm here on the earth. I want to use the earth as the center. I want to use the heart as the center because I believe that, first of all, the heart and earth, which, they're anagrams, I believe that the heart is where you act from, the heart is where you think from, and the heart is where you feel from. That's the
Mm.
center point for all three of those paradigms. So if you want anything in any one of those paradigms, I would want to have the heart as the center. And then I would want to look at the way that the sine wave absorbs into that particle right there. And that's how I would want to see my angles. So a lot of people, they'll, like, let's say Mars rules Aries and it's a powerful day rising nature, and somebody has, like, I'm an example of, I have a tropical Mars, or in Taurus, and then when you pull my sidereal chart, it shows my Mars in Aries. So someone like me, let's say I fell in love with that position and I only told people sidereal was correct because every time I would show them my sidereal chart, it would have, all my positions exalted or in awesome spots. I
Right.
think that is a trap in astrology. So that
Mm-hmm.
can very much keep you locked in certain areas and not let you see the truths that either draconic astrology, tropical, or sidereal, or any of them are really trying to show you. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all trying to give you a different part of the story from a different angle. I mean, sometimes there's astrologies that haven't even been invented yet that would be an awesome tool, to have Venus as the center, to pull everything
Mm.
from Venus. And then you could look at your compassionate, your life-giving principle, and your death, your life-taking principle. You could look at those two areas. You could throw it from Mars as the center. You could look at your action. You could see how the waves around action fold and drop into matter, into the particle form of what Mars is, and how it builds muscle, and how it's the actual power and the lifting mechanism and the doer behind the action, which is a helper of the thought. It starts out in the feeling or the thought kingdom, probably the feeling, which causes a thought, which causes the action. And that's why that feeling and that fixed nature, the fixed cross, whenever you see the bull, the lion, the eagle, and the man, you're looking at that Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio fixed cross. And, that's where it's not broken, Brokin. It's fixed there. So there's no two brother systems. There's no left and right image, visible nature. So you've very much got permanence. The fixed stars are not the wandering stars. The fixed stars, from our perspective, they stay fixed because they're so freaking permanent and they're so far away in the circuit. It doesn't matter what's out there. What matters is the speeds, the movements, the rotations. That's what matters. It's all the pretty much the math behind it, which I don't even study. I mean, I look at generalizations and concepts. I really skim the surfaces of things so I can get the meat and potatoes, the real meat and potatoes of the universe. I
Yeah.
fight my way there, and that's why I've ended up at the crystal ball. It's the crystal ball. So the crystal, and from our perspective here, is what holds light. The brain is the crystal, and then the spine is the metallic rod that reflects the light received into the visible body. So you've very much got the two things that can hold light: a crystal and a mirror. A crystal ball and a mirror. Crystals take light in. They're the opposite of metal, which is very opaque and reflects it. So you've got one axis on the one side. You've got crystal, and
I
that
like that.
emits, and on the base you've got metal, in all the different metals, and those receive and they reflect. So that's why at the bottom in the dense world you've got visible matter, you've got all the metals, and really sand, all those things, those are all deteriorations of metal. So you've started off with a perfect metallic piece, and then oxidation and wind, water, earth, and fire all kicked in, and they started deteriorating, and the fall occurred, and death and decay. But death is really permanent, so everything that goes through the process of death contributes to the grand knowledge of all things. So by going through decay, you pretty much are giving forth. I just had a chipmunk run right up to my foot, man. That was awesome. Um,
I swear
but
some of the squirrels have been like communicating with me lately. It's very odd. They like stop and like look at me, and then I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they like stop for a minute, and I think I told
That's
you this
awesome.
before, but I have a tree right outside my apartment window. So like
Uh-huh.
if I'm smoking or something, I'll blow out the window, and I'm not kidding you. Birds show up, squirrels show up.
That's awesome, man. That's neat. We have things like that happen here too. It's when we first got the squirrels upstairs in our bedroom, the birds would come right up to the window and just fly and flutter right in the
Right.
window, and I thought it was crazy. We don't see that too much anymore, but I think that's when they first discovered man and squirrel were hanging out up there. And then nowadays, they don't even like the feeding operation I have. I mean, I go through probably 20 pounds of seed a day. I mean, these things can
Dang.
eat out here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's getting pretty pricey, but that's my tithing system, how I give back. So,
Right.
anyways, man, there's every morning, there's at least 30 squirrels out sitting on the base, and then I'll bring
Oh,
a big thing of
30?
feed up and, oh, at least,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
we
did.
have
Oh, I'll tell
they're
you in a
everywhere,
minute.
man. They just had babies too, so we've got like probably half of them are really little, and then there's a bunch of medium ones, and then a couple big fat daddies.
That's funny.
And yeah, then we've got ravens now coming up to the perches. There's two or three ravens that come in. They love to eat the suet, and then we've also got ducks coming in and deer coming in because I've been putting out a shit ton of corn. I lay it in a big J for Jesus. I don't know why I keep putting the J out, but man, they come down and they eat it up.
That's
And
funny.
dude, I don't know, man. It's like you said, they're getting closer. They're getting ever trusting, and it's a bird world coming up. So the bird kingdom was be and really the squirrels, which are the highest. They live up in the air the highest out of all the animals, pretty even the humans. They live up in the trees and shit, so they're even they're not as dense as us. That's why they're electric and frickin' thunderbolty and like lightning running everywhere, jumping from branch to branch, hanging on a nail. And they're they're floaty and light. They're up in the ethers, and they're getting carried around and all that shit. So it's good kingdoms to hang out with, man. I
Yeah.
learn a lot from them. They're very humble. I notice patterns too. Like I'll fill up all the feeders, and then I'll throw seed on the ground, and like on all the rocks. Like I have a bunch of rocks. I put them on like scoops of seed on and stuff, and then I notice that before they go and get the feeders, they'll eat up all the stuff on the ground. And then I started noticing they do this because of like the rain and stuff like that. And then when it rains, they'll go and use the dry food in the feeders. So it's, I don't know, I see them do all these little things, like make choices on things as a community of different things coming together. And it's neat. Nobody touches certain feeders, but then when it's raining, they'll all use these areas. So
Huh.
I mean,
Smart.
it's really, and if a storm's come in, like sometimes I'll put a bunch of seed out. I'll know it's going to storm in like an hour or an hour and a half because I looked at the radar, and nature knows that too. They'll call in everybody, and it will be a massive feeding to get all the seed eaten up off the rocks and places that are going to get wet before the rain comes. And it's incredible to watch, man. I've just been dialed into things like that lately, just kind of watching the nature around me because that's the best stuff to learn from this just the stuff we've been given stewards of, to take care of. They show us so much.
Yeah, or like when you just watch animals in general, it's like I don't know how people don't see how I don't. It's intelligence isn't the correct word, but it's like I guess the best word. But like you just see like their social interactions are just as complex, I guess, as the humans can be, and they're just simplified. Um, I'm not saying they're ultra smart or anything because they're animals, but it's
Right, right.
very interesting to like gain respect for them. Uh,
Oh yeah. And I mean, and to be, if you think of all the things, like if you, I like to think of humans as making sound, talking and stuff like that, words, and as the fall of man, getting caught up in the mind and the intelligence. And then if you think of the silence, if you think of nature that sings, that doesn't form words, you've almost got kind of the high mind in a way, which would be a hive mind. But it's a higher state of mind where it's like a watcher, it's like it's, I mean, like think of the scavenger kingdom, right? I mean, nobody eats the scavenger kingdom. They don't even eat their own. So, I mean, if a condor or a raven or something crow, they don't eat their own.
hmm,
So
interesting.
they're and words eat words if you look at the way words work, words eat each other up all over the
Yeah,
place. I mean, they really, really do. They're very, I don't know, dangerous. I don't want to use the word, but they
yeah,
can cause you to slip into a reality that you don't understand the ins and outs of. So you can start using that system without knowing what you're using. And it
yeah,
starts creating things that you didn't necessarily want to create, that you didn't think you were creating. So I think that's why when we look at nature and we look at their quietness, we look at their timidness, we look at their resourcefulness and their hiveness, hanging together, flocking of the same feather, all that stuff. I mean, it shows us a little bit how we're the only things here that really we've like lost telepathy. We've lost all those abilities a little bit. So we're kind of trying to bring this back online and become more like almost, the nature kingdom around us more. So it's
hmm,
almost like they're waiting for us, and they loved us so much that they would just sit here, wait and hang out and, just keep doing their thing while, we came full circle. And the deal was probably always going to be if we could make it through, if we could come full circle, we'd come through even stronger after going through the darkness. So
yeah,
it was we couldn't avoid it either because once we started tasting the darkness, you had to get the whole thing at that point. That's why we had to go through what we've gone through, and we're going to come out of this with the reptilian tongue. We're going to come out of this with the snake on its belly as one of our tools, but we've got to find our wings, our dragon wings back still. So because everything that comes from the snake on its belly in your mouth, the cave of creation, the tongue right there, comes from the real cave of creation down low, where all the vowels come from, which is deep and down and you're inside. Everything Jupiter down there, that gut mind down there gives you the AEIOU. All those come right up the throat, get stretched out, and provide space gaps in between all the crashing consonants in the mouth that the teeth and the tongue create. So it's very much, if we could, that's why the voice box and all the organs of the mouth, throat, these are fairly what they would call new organs, or that's why they sell them that way in terms of uh, Darwin's evolutionary theory and all that. They were progressive, but not in the sense that they give it. It's a progressive step in terms of evolutionary purposes and spiritual realms. So you learn to use the voice in the sound system because it's really the lower form of light. If you look at something like velocity or speed, when something hits a certain speed, and in order to be something, you've got to be a real piece of matter. So when you hit a certain speed, you drop a sound body. So it makes a bang and you send this ricochet of noise. I was in the Air Force and I was in Mountain Home, Idaho, and they had B-1 bombers there, and they used to tuck their wings back. And when they would go over the base, they would break the sound barrier, and it would set off all the car alarms on the base, like you'd hear woo, like all over the
Wow.
place. I mean, that learning how to use sound waves appropriately is a tool that we really want to have. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something you really want to master. Like you really want to get that one. If you can get that one right there in your set of tools in your toolbox, then you have a huge, powerful force with you. You can take the unseen and you can bring it into the visible. So that's what Taurus is all about. That's what the bowl up there. That's a fixed emanation. That's the sound of life, the Om emanating that causes the land to rise above the sea. It's a constant nature that brings the land up above the water. That's why when that and this is the real mountain right here. When you go over the mountain that is the Taurus. I mean, because Tor, if you look up Tor on the internet, you'll find little tors in England, like little knobs of hills with like these anvils on them. I mean, these are all light receiving pillar areas that are receiving sound, and that they're the ear, because in the beginning was the word, right? And then you've got the ear that hears the word gets, they get the matter. They're pretty much absorbing the sound. They're the anode that the cathode is sending from. So they're receiving that and building a body from it. And once you cross over, so think of if you're climbing up a mountain, and then let's say it's in the morning time, and then all day you're kind of chasing the sun because it hasn't risen. Let's say you're on the western side, and then you get up to the top, and then you're pretty much the sun blasts you and hits you. That's what happens in the springtime. That's why things pop out at that point in time and become visible, and they're born and they're birthed. At that moment in time is when you cross over on the right side. That's why you have east of the Tor, Easter. That's why when you're east of the mountain, east of the Tor, east of that big pile, you're on that right side. Just cast your net to the right. Our God is a living God. So you go from the death to the living, and they're both very much the one in itself, the eternal one. So death isn't eternal either, because you break off into little slices of living. So both of those realms are like kind of a switch back and forth from the 3% to the 97%, back to the 3%, back to the 97%. So you keep going back, but really there's a 100% matrix that those are both in pulsing on. So I mean, once you're east of the Tor right there, you're into the visible side of things. So all the way for the next 6 months to Scorpio, we're on the visible side of the mountain. We're on the things where you're going to see things. So, um, and things like,
I've been
all
seeing a
their.
lot of things lately. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry to interrupt, but I've been
You're
noticing.
good.
So I think this is in the lost episode where I explained a dimethyl tryptamine trip fairly good. So I'll try to do it again real quick.
Okay.
But
Okay.
when you do that, and there's different levels to it, but there's a level that's sort of like close to this level, and if your eyes are open, what you'll see is, or what you are able to see is, if you can imagine everything in a geometrical way. For instance, if you
Uh-huh.
do a modeling software, you can visualize this. But what you want to do is visualize things as simple geometry, and then you
Hmm.
simultaneously need to visualize the textures of what's on there, and then realize that anything that goes into a shadow, which is not caused by you, um, is potential. So you literally will see beings that are within the shadows, and then within the shadows of that texture and that object, that's all like a phasal space that can be occupied by different beings. So that's where you can see stuff like fairies, or I tend to see sort of shadow or liquid beings. Liquid beings are able to like fly through the air, and then I've been seeing glimpses of this lately, which is very odd. And I'm just, like, noticing lights and stuff, like small lights. And if I close my eyes, sometimes I have like a light inside my head. It's very odd.
That's
That's so.
awesome.
I guess it's weird. I've only had it happen a few times, but like I would, if you're watching and listening, like I would love to hear if anyone's. I know one of the it's your girl Kathy on the Tartaria channel. She was telling me, and I hope she doesn't mind sharing, but like supposedly her and her friend were basically seeing what sounds exactly like etheric condensation, where the energy of the material, like if everything has like an aura, you can sort of then imagine something
Right.
condensating and sort of dripping and oozing off. And she said she could roll it up into a ball, and I was like, that's so cool. So might have
That's
to.
awesome. Yeah, and it would, because if you think about it, there's heat generating in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this force that's causing something to condensate, and then it's really just pure movement. It's it's real movement, and which is heat
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And it's and you would see that. You would see it as like a gaseous thing coming off.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I mean
That's cool.
like a oozing, and it oozes from like liquid
Yeah.
into a gas, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and then if you think about that, because I like to think about like rainbows and lightning a lot, because um, it's like there's no seems to be no real consensus in the scientific community about what lightning is. But I
Right.
liked Eric Dollard. He kind of explains it as a point of saturation, which if you think about, if you take those what is it, like electrolysis thing or whatever, and you burn it on wood, like that's lightning. Um,
Right.
which is also a lot like how mycelium grows. So I assume they're
And how
all.
creeks and rivers, like if you look at
Yeah.
creeks and river systems, that's all lightning patterns. I was just seeing some of Mike Ferreira's stuff or whatever, and he's got like he's calling them plasma, plasma events, where pretty much these patterns that show, and he showed some up from like Antarctica. This we have this like volcano up there in the north, and they're calling it a frozen river that cuts through, but it looks like a fucking thunderbolt, and it's probably a
Wow.
plasma river of like molten lava coming down.
Holy
And
shoot.
and then since it's hot under there, it's obviously melting the ice right there, but it's a river of lava right there. And it flows down, from Greenland area, which would explain all the Iceland crazy volcanic shit they got there too. And then even just the north in general. Like if you live anywhere north latitude, I remember I used to live out in Idaho, and they had a lot of hot springs up there in the mountains. So I mean, you can see this like this pushing up force, like this gaseous fire rising, this heat rising to the surface and whatnot. It's pretty,
Wow.
and I think that's really 45 degrees, 44 degrees and up everywhere, like around, because that's all at that point right there, you're on that final vertex up to the 90 degree center point. And that's why you can only find lodestones and certain, magnetic type rocks up north. I mean, all these things are manifesting as part of light fields that are coming here.
Wow.
It's really neat, man.
Yeah, it's
I've been getting I've been getting big into like just metals. Like I don't know what it is about metals and crystals, like the opposite nature of clear versus opaque, but it's really has me blown away. Like the simpleness, but also because I mean, if you think of, I always like to think we are light, like in its
yep.
most general sense. Whatever light is, like we probably don't even know what light is yet, but whatever it is, that's what we are. And if you want to understand how light, is held, how pretty much light could make a body, you would study metal and crystal, because those two things interact with light pretty much like crazy. And I guess everything really does here in the system, because it's probably all that substance. Like if you look at the way, like if you look at water, water's crystal clear, right? I mean, it's pretty much the 33. It's the melted ice, and then everything that you look that has movement requires it. There's nothing moving around that doesn't have hydrogen and oxygen as water inside of it. It's that cell barrier wall system. It's like the north wall on Game of Thrones. You've got this
Mm-hmm.
huge ice wall, that's, and then you've got this thawed internal nature of the Christ of 33 where all the light is stored. And you know what that is? It's probably the heat inside the center of the black
Mm-hmm.
in that crystal. It's probably this emanating heat force, this central force of heat. And it's where he's at. If you look at the word heat, it shows you where he's at, and
Yeah.
we're probably in some kind of pole, like some kind. Imagine a sphere, and then imagine a like an apple core, like a toral field going down, and the pinch point in the center, right there. Imagine a 2D slice of that. And then that right there, imagine the yin yang symbol on that with red and blue right there. I pretty much feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're on a 2D light mirror thing right there with red and blue light.
Mm.
And it's the
In yellow.
infrared.
In
And
yellow.
yeah, because blue is part of yellow in my book, like it's the luminaries. You've pretty much got, and yellow, if you look at that word, look at the sounds in it, you're yelling, and you've got O. You've got an O, which is a circle, is considered like perfectness, because you've got equidistant points from the center all the way around. And which is a mountain too. If you look at the tip of a mountain, it would have equidistant points all the way around. It would be another circle, which is the symbol for the sun. So if you look at a mountain, you're looking at the symbol for the sun right there. And that's what the sun rises up into matter. That's why sun is a positive expressive force. Anyways, the blue or the Lu, that is the night within the day. So our real day is the black night, and our real night is the blue day. So I mean, you're getting beat up. You can see the way it goes. It's black and blue. I mean, it's beating you up. I mean, and that's the thing. Where's it beating you up? Not down. Don't be a letdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty much, this is a system where, I mean, it's burst in pain, and pain, people don't understand, but is one of the most beautiful things. It really is. Think if you didn't have pain. Think of what you would miss. Think of the things that would happen to you. Think of that little, I mean, if people understood something like tooth pain, and we've gone over the teeth, they
Mm-hmm.
would know that it's a warning sign to have a little bit of pain in your tooth. The tooth is a fuse box for an organ circuit that it sits on. And if you have a little bit of pain in that tooth and you understood which organ it connected to, it could show you that, hey, maybe there's something going on in this system of your organs in your bodies, and hey, maybe that's being caused from some kind of desire that you're letting run forth in your life, whether it's drinking, eating, pornography, any kind of the seven deadly sins that you're letting just take you over. Envy, greed, whatever it is, lust. I mean, it doesn't matter. Those are all going to cause things to happen inside of you that spin your wheels in the opposite direction. And that's causing pretty much reduction, oxygenation. I mean, you've got a rotor and a stator. Like it's very much two circles going opposite ways, building something. And the something that it's building is balance. It's what it's supposed to be building. It's a standing wave. It's literally the only way you can actually stand on your own 2 feet is through balance, is through balancing the left and the right. You're standing on your own 2 feet. That's the left and the right is each foot right there. That's in balance. You've got the apex in the middle, and from the apex in the middle shoots up the center one system. So if you were to stand and put your legs out like in a triangle, and then put your arms straight above your head and like you're gonna dive up, I mean, that's pretty much showing you the cosmic force in you right there.
Hmm.
But
Nice.
yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Hey,
Um,
real quick.
what do we got?
So Josh, well, let's see. I got a couple comments.
All right.
13th Monkey says he's watching a tiny little blue tit sitting on her eggs, incubating, being fed by a caring partner is the best entertainment whilst doing mapping work.
That's awesome. What kind of bird?
He says it's a blue tit.
A blue tit. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. And we got a comment from
Boobies.
yeah, right. We got a comment from Joshua White. He says, "I'm pretty sure I've done more DMT than the average person, as I do my own extractions. I've keep
No
myself
way.
in the realm for hours on end during sessions. That's awesome, man.
That's awesome. That's cool,
We
man.
need we need to
That's
link up. I'm trying to.
no doubt. It's still something I've yet to try. To be honest, I'm kind of apprehensive. I've got a little bit of fear there in me. And
Yeah, understandable, understandable.
yeah, nature loves courage, so it's one of those
Oh,
things that I think the scared or the fear part in me is I don't want to fuck it up. Like I've got one shot at introducing something into my system and I want it to be first of all, it's already in there, right? So I mean, we know that it's something that's in everything and it's very much like I don't want to. There's so many bad man-made things out there. You know what I'm saying? That I don't want to get the wrong thing and think I'm taking something pure, and you know what I'm saying? Fuck something up. I've kind of
mm,
not only heard but seen situations in life, people that they were firing on all cylinders. Like, you know, they fucking had everything streaming in, they were dialed in, and they just went off on some hard adventures pretty much for a while, and they just never were the same. And I think it was from certain man altered substances. It would never be of something just straight out of the ground. I mean, that's all
right.
there for gifts to man. So that's why I don't know. I've always wanted to do like the official ceremony, like travel to those lands, you know, make like probably like Josh does, is extract your own, make it yourself so you
Yeah,
know exactly what you're getting. So then you can study it. You can know the dosages. You can pretty much play with things, and it's like a portal system. Hey, I'm going to use this
right.
much today and go here. I pretty much went here last time, you know, and you can even use it at certain times of the year, certain times of the day, and start to make a log of wow, you know, because you're looking at, you know, different spectrums of electromagnetism each time. And if you think of what we're really doing, like if we really are the quickest and the fastest thing in the universe, so fast that it looks like we're just sitting still, I mean, that would tell you that even just taking it a split like couple seconds later would have all the difference in the world. So I mean, it's neat like thinking about ingesting certain substances at different times and where you go and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of an unstudied paradigm a little bit. I think you
Well,
could see someday deep in the future like astrology, pharmaceutical combinations where they've already done it in the past in simple measures. Like for example, they say never take medicine during when the moon is in Capricorn. That is a
hmm.
an age old saying, and the reason is because the moon is is pretty much represents this nature here, the nurturing nature, and then its opposition would be Capricorn. So you never try to nurture, and if you do, it says if you do try to take medicine, any kind of things during those times, you will feel very nauseated, and pretty much throw
Interesting.
up,
Wow.
which is really neat because I think of certain times in my life where I've noticed patterns. Like, for example, like I'll just start like a certain time of year. Like for me, I have a rough time of year with Virgo. So, like, or tropical Virgo. So, pretty much late August or even really August, September, that's a just a rough time of year for me, and then and it also translates into my day. So my time of day to get through every day is about 4 to 6. If I can make it through that window with a good attitude, it's a good day for me. I have a very difficult, and that's just, and you know what? Same with my son, Jordan.
Hmm.
And he listens to these too, and pretty much this is how we figured that out because we would pretty much we'd notice that we started having emotional feelings and rough times and rough patches about the same times, and I'd start asking him, well, when did it start feeling rough today? Because it hits you like a brick wall. Like
Yeah.
if people know what I'm talking about, like
Yeah.
everybody has their little windows of downtime where you are not doing good right now and you just need to do
Yeah.
everything in your nature to fucking stay calm. because the
Yeah, it's
littlest
been
thing
rough.
will set you off. And nature will come at you hardcore. Like you'll trip over things, you'll go
Yeah.
from mistake to mistake to mistake. If
I've
you
been
notice
breaking
you're in any
glasses
setting,
actually. I had dropped a
have you?
glass bottle and then I broke one of my glasses, and it's like I know why. Like I can see that my
That's
energy's a bit.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
too much energy that's like going around, but it's because of this external world, right? Like I don't typically
Right.
have this type of issues, so it's hard to channel
Right.
that stuff. I can't channel it really. You know what I mean?
I've seen some stuff in my life like that too lately. Like, for example, I'm always really dialed in with my body. So I always know exactly where my hand, my foot, my everything is. So I tend not to trip over stuff. I tend to see things in my environment very cleanly. I anticipate everywhere. I always set myself up. I try to take all probabilities and errors out. Anywhere I see a possible something sharp or something could happen, I correct it everywhere I go. And sometimes, like I noticed a couple weeks back, I'd hit like a day or two period where I would like bump into a counter with my head lifting and just I was out of my normal dial. Like everybody feels a different kind of dialed. Like the way I feel dialed is just the way that my consciousness, I'm used to it streaming in. So if it's not like if I don't like I'm used to a high constant intuitive stream. Like if I don't have that going, I don't feel good. Like I don't feel normal. I don't feel okay. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable. I get irritated. If I get physically hungry, I've learned like if I need to put like pretty much carbs, I'll just go ahead and say it, like any kind of starchy, nasty, bad shit for me. Like I've built some kind of addiction in my gut mind down there that where if I don't give it that every once in a while, it gets fucking cranky. Like I have to battle through those things in order to overcome them if I want to overcome them. And yeah, I don't know where I'm getting with all that, but we all got
It's all
it.
good.
It goes back that the moon in Capricorn is symbolic for we all have a moon in Capricorn. We all have, not everybody's natal chart is the same. Every single one of them's different, a matter of fact. And even twins, even if you've got twins, one of them came out before the other one. The Mercuries are going to be in different placements. The Vulcan's going to be in a different placement. Even the moon might have moved a little bit if there was a couple minutes. So this is all gonna flavor different light. I mean, it's all gonna matter. It's all gonna come into manifestation principles. I mean, it just has to. It's the way it works. But that so we've all got a moon in Capricorn where when we shouldn't take medicine. We've all got our little slices of the day where we notice. I mean, look for these patterns in your life so you can be prepared. Now that I've learned this about my own being and my own life, I'm ready for 4 o'clock every day. And I'm ready for that time of year too when it comes in late August, early September. I now, and my son is more prepared too. Now that we both talked about this, we both go through the same things. And I bet chances are, if you have children or family members, and you go through things, chances are, if you find a pattern about yourself, check with the family members. See if this is something that's passed down physically, genetically through the body system, like through the female, or see if this is passed down, mentally through the father spiritually. So try to discover its roots so you can really get to fixing the causes of something. If you can't get to the roots of a problem, you're going to have a tough time mending anything because it's going to keep springing up.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, it's I've found a couple areas in my life where I'm ready for every day and every year. And I've barely scratched the surface of astrology. I mean, everything I
Yeah.
preach about it. I mean, I literally I could be such a better astrologer if I really put a lot more effort and energy into it, but that's not what I'm here for right now.
Yeah.
I'm here to definitely have that knowledge and to incorporate it and to get it out there and to show people that it's very important to look at the stars and to understand the signs and to understand the nature. But I'm also here to be balanced in many things and to just, help as much as I can everywhere. It's a sweeping generalization times where I've kind of just gone little jack of all trades ish, and I've really just felt like, I mean, diving into deep anywhere feels not okay for me. Like, I don't like to set my roots down thick and hard in a particular category. So the thickest and hardest that they're in right now would be astrology, would be the stars. I mean, it would be symbology, but again, this is all language, linear thought, all constructs of the tongue. So I mean, it's all product of sound, and it hopes to express that which isn't vocal and that which is unseen. So and that's where we're supposed to graduate to. So we're really supposed to be able to just graduate into this, like, just like your liver does. Like, you don't talk to your liver, your lungs, you don't talk to any parts of your body. Everything just operates in perfect harmony. So you don't have to know anything, like you don't have to learn anything. Like, that's all a fallacy. All of that, there's a different step, there's a whole different path you can take to where you just flip the switch on, and it's all there. Anything you look at, it's there. Anything you ask, it's there. Like, you can ask any question and have an answer. You can look at anything and see something, and many things. You can constantly keep seeing things from the same thing. Like, it's a whole world of information that flows out of everything and is made up of everything. Like, you would even understand that everything that is a thing is made up of stacked columns of information that are coming together and cooperating with each other. I mean, this is all light. The squirrels climbing in the trees, jumping from branch to branch. These are all light codes. These are all light codes in harmony coming together, in areas of sulfur, of areas that hold things together. And then they were playing in ether and a gas that keeps things separated. So, I mean, we've got this sulfur etheric gas playland, and it's light dancing around in there, which would be the dark. If sulfur gas is dark, the black space, you're using your senses to see your inside. You're using your 3% to see your 97. I mean,
Hey Barry,
it's pretty weird. What's up, brother?
check out those pictures I threw up in the divinatory delineation too. I think you'll like those.
1133. Nice.
Oh yeah.
Let me see what we got here.
Yeah, Joshua White. Joshua White's telling me about his experiences tripping outside. He says it's really awesome. I totally agree. It's outside's incredible, and if you mix it with acid, I've had like large flower beings appear in front of me, like
Oh,
massive.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and they were just and they sounded like instruments when they like would move and talk, and they'd be like whoop 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 whoop. Yeah,
That's
those
awesome.
spaces
That's
are amazing.
he just wrote YouTube crash, guys.
Huh?
Mike 13th Monkey said the YouTube crashed. So just check, see if it's
We're still good as far as I can tell.
we still good. Maybe his crashed. All right, Mike. We'll be back, brother. Dude, those pictures you put up are badassery. Definitely. So it shows, yeah, the crystal ball with lightning inside of it. I mean, dude, yeah, like you said, science doesn't know what lightning is. Look at this thing. I mean, think of a charged particle of gas, like some kind of what would even hold a gas bubble as a bubble? It would have some kind of charge emanating from its center point, keeping the bubble a bubble. I
Yeah.
mean, and what you're looking at is that part of the bubble highlighted in color. So there's a little moment where things flip into color, just a
Hmm.
blink of an eye. And I think we're in a motion picture, a constant blinking of the eye.
Yeah.
So so
That's
when
what
we
DMT
have
feels like, or any high
yeah,
dose psychedelic.
when I left here, I pretty much, this was back in 2017. I don't know if I think I've said it before, but when I passed out, I was like this. I felt as like a metal rod is the only way I can describe it. And
Mm.
all of this light was coming at me, and it was like it was in a tree branch form. So a main trunk line, I was receiving that, and there was these little branches feeding the main trunk line. It looked like a tree, but it was pearly luminescent white. And then when I looked at one of the outer branch lines feeding into the main trunk line was just like all this light mixed up. Like, I couldn't make out anything. It was beautiful, fluidic. You couldn't focus on anything. It was just this pure movement of feeling. And then the outer arms, though, they were these like Polaroid images stacked one by one by one, following each other with a different picture on
Yep,
them.
yep, I've seen that. Yeah, and then it was like for me,
I
it
was
was like
absorbing them all. It felt
okay,
like thousands. It felt like
yeah,
thousands of years of experience within the blink of an eye.
yeah.
Like that's the only way I can describe it. Like from this position is that, and this was without. This was I got up too fast. I went to go pass somebody.
Yeah, it could do
Actually,
that.
it was passing somebody a bowl. Like I was smoking a bowl, and I smoke bowls every day, so it's not from smoking marijuana. And I got up too fast at a campfire, and the stars aligned, and Barry went down, and I kneeled down softly and put my head on my buddy Derek's knee, and then
Nice.
I had my buddy Justin and a couple other. There was like 5 other people there, and they all came up. And before I was back in my body, I remember I was in 2 locations because I remember them standing me up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm okay, I'm okay." And then I remember I started walking away from them out into the grass, and I was stopped in the grass, and then I remember seeing everything from my other where I was, like in the sine wave or something. And I came down, I was in eastern Kentucky, so it's real hilly there. I remember coming in from the top of the hill, which shows me the way light's received here is down through the top of a mountain. So that's where I entered. I came in for the mountain, and then came right down the tops of the trees. And as I got down to the grass mowed areas, I saw the fire and the people, and then I saw me standing out, and I went right into my spine back area. And as soon as I went in, my vision changed, and I saw the road in front of me up on the hill. I saw my driveway, and I had my blinders back on.
Wow,
So, and that all happened within about a minute total time right
wow.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
interesting.
mean, and so I think that if you look at what we have as each day, I think you're seeing it's the E clip tip. So you're taking clips, you're taking little pictures, and you're making a motion picture. So it's like a flip book. When you
Mm,
draw a little bit of movement in each picture, you get a motion picture, you get a movie, and you move the E. So, and that's what the soul, like we were talking about, for, and the bottom of the foot is for. I
mm.
was thinking about this extensively running. Like,
Yeah,
what's the
nice.
difference between running in place and what's the difference between running forward? And
Yeah.
actually, you'll sweat both ways, but something has something quite different in it in travel and movement. And it just, I don't know, it causes wind and all these different things come into play once you use the soul to move. So, and there's a very delicate balance position, like a slight lean forward
Yep.
is how you get that movement.
It's like you're
It's a
falling.
bob.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like you're falling forward. Yeah, yeah, which could explain the tilt of the Earth, the true north versus magnetic, and all the different changes we've gone into the fall. I mean, that could pretty much all be tied in right there. And if you look at nature, the bowing aspect, that bobbing, that bowing up and down, that nodding, that all that is tied to the pole. The Bach saga speaks a lot about that nature too. There's a lot of different mythologies that hold the bow sacred, that hold that nod sacred, because that nod is symbolic of the seasons, that nod back and forth like that wobble.
Hmm.
And the wobble is what gives you all these all this temperate areas. Like I live in Kentucky. I am in the birthplace of the temperate zones, or the deciduous trees, and of the east coast of America, and you are too in Ohio. We're in a very, without the seasons, we wouldn't have these areas. You wouldn't have the grains, the cereals, all that shit came, all the foods came into play. The fall of man was a fall into all of that. We were probably etheric and invisible from this perspective. I mean, we're
Right.
probably still
Yep.
there, and
Yep.
now we've got this other body too.
Yep.
So we've got multiple realms to operate from and to try to fucking line up, and it's just ever expanding, man. It's a lot to keep up with, and they really keep us in the dark here. It's hard to get stuff out, I mean, to people, because first of all, they're too distracted to listen. And I mean, I see that as one of the big battles nowadays is everybody I look around that I can tell that they're getting spoken to loud and clear from inside, and they're letting that shit ring from the rooftops, dude. Nobody's listening. I mean, people are off in their own paradigms, maxing out desires, having little willpower, feeling real comfortable, thinking nothing, all the shit about karma. I mean, reap what you sow. I mean, all that's trash to them. They don't believe. Take advantage of
Yeah.
everything you can while you can. Rape the earth, pillage your fellow man, fuck animals. I mean, it's probably literally, I have no idea, but I just know that you know, it's such a fallacy to think that it's unseen. I mean, everything is seen. You can't hide from anything. That's why you shouldn't have
Right.
any skeletons in your closet. Because if you have skeletons in your closet, you have a disease,
Yeah.
and that disease is that you think that it's hidden. Like you think
It's
literally
yeah.
that nobody else can see this, and that only you can see it.
It's
Well, the very
yourself though
fact
too, right? I
that's
mean,
the problem, right?
yeah.
So the fact that you can see it
So it doesn't
means
even
everybody
matter
can
what
see
other
it.
people think.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean it shouldn't, right? So that's another fallacy is that if you have a skeleton in your closet, you care about what other people think. You care about your image, right? You care about the way you look, not what you are. You pretty much don't want people to think a certain thing of you, right? You don't want them to see you in a certain light.
Right.
So
Lewis
it's
Carroll
a
has a great line on this. I'm gonna see if I can find it really quick because it's
okay,
really crazy.
cool.
Oh, I know where
Lewis
it is.
Carroll, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, he did Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
I have a great quote. It's really because he definitely understood language. Uh,
Big key,
super.
man.
Yo, I feel like that's the great battle that we're really trying to fight.
You're probably right, ma'am. I mean, because that's the form. It's the one with the form stick. Whoever's in charge of the voice. I mean, they've got the control here in Soundland. I mean, in Waterworld, think of the tonoscopes and the sound when they put them on sand and water. How it makes all the different cymatic vibrations. I mean, they're trying to cause their own cymatic vibrations that are distorted, in chaos. And then they know where everything's going to be because they've set up the system. And we're the ones trying to restore the original vibrations and the original sounds. It's that's the constant battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the only way they
Oh,
can
here it
get
is.
the original and the restoration process to slow down is to infiltrate the willpower of the people to get to their choice making
Right.
system.
That's why they even
you know
say it's your choice. It's like, okay, great, thanks.
yeah,
Here,
yeah,
check this
I
out.
know it.
So here's the quote from Lewis Carroll, and this is from Alice. I think is this through the looking glass? Probably through the looking glass. But it says,
Okay.
"Oh, I quite agree with you," said the Duchess, "and the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be, or, if you'd like it put more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that what you were or might have been was not otherwise than what you had been would
Oh
have
my god.
appeared to them to be otherwise. I think you should
Yep.
understand that better," Alice said very politely, "if I had it written down. But I can't quite follow it as you say it." "That's nothing to what I could say if I chose," the Duchess replied in a pleased tone. "Pray don't trouble yourself to say it any longer than that," said Alice.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's language. That's like
That is
language
language.
abuse right there.
It is. That's the realms I've been playing in a little bit where you kind of just let it flow and it just kind of travels in. And I mean, because language holds its secrets inside of itself the whole way. You can take any word at any point and break it down and just keep fractaling it down into its ultimate paradigm building mechanisms. And I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's something that matters literally. All the stuff that comes out of your mouth, that's why the old saying goes, it's not that which goeth in that defileth a man. It's not
Mm,
that which you hear. It's not the word that comes in. It's that which goeth out. It's the voice. It's the thoughts that go out. It's the feelings that go out. Everything that goes out from you is what you send through the crystal ball, which is the center point right there, which just means you're putting it into the image. And everything you see, everything you're manifesting are things you're pulling through, into this image. So it's in his image and or on the surface, so it's pretty, which is why you got Facebook,
Right.
and
In
it's which
MySpace.
it, right, MySpace. Yep. I mean, it's all face, it's all sir. I mean, it's all, if you think of a geometric platonic solid, you've got just like the soccer ball. The soccer ball shape is supposed to be the 12 dodecahedrons, and you've pretty much got the points of those 12 dodecahedrons marking different land and deep ocean surfaces depending upon the nature of the zodiac energy that goes through. I mean, and it's so funny, the people that do get caught up in shape arguments and whatnot on, flat versus round versus sphere. And
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, like, we've got so many different paradigms coming together. I mean, you've got these invisible spheres of influence coming in that you can't even see. And then you do actually end up seeing a 2D slice of them. And then you decide to dictate their whole nature upon a certain angle that you see something from. And it's just not the way that things ought to be formed in one's mind. Things get formed in one's mind through true, simple principles out. Like, you learn true, simple things that can't be denied, and then you work out from there. Like, you can't make a triangle with more than 180 degrees, for example. If you did that, you'd have a polygon. So, I mean, it's pretty much, which is neat if you think of that real quick, and you think of the triangle, and you can't make it with more than 180 degrees, and that 180 degrees is the D, or the delta, or the sun rising. And
Right.
then the delta symbol for delta, I think, is a triangle.
Yep.
um yeah, and that's, yeah. So this is the land of the triangles, man. The fire and the water, there's that right side up and the right side down triangle there. And well, I guess they're both equilateral triangles. There's no right angles in there. But I was thinking about this too, Todd, this week. Then we'll get into some divination here soon. But the
Okay.
right angle, man. If you think of the right angle, cast your net to the right, Christ said. The right angle is the only angle that doesn't have arc. So it's perpendicular. So it's straight forever. There's no arc. So even on each side of the 90-degree angle, you have 89 positive and 89 negative, or I guess you have 91 and 89, and obtuse and acute. Both of those, even though they're close to the 90, they still have a little bit of arc. So there's still a circle, right? So you've pretty much got, if you took the cosmic scale, on and you looked at those angles from 90 down, you could see all the different shapes, the owl eyes. So those magnetic owl eyes is what that is. So the 89 is going to be the largest circle on each side. So you're going to remember everything you do to the left, you do to the right in math. So if you have this one polarity line at 89 stemming down from the 90, bending out a little bit, it's happening over there too. Because if you're going to show up over here, that means it's visible over here. Well, really, it's not visible to the one side, though. The blue and the red. It's that blue-red infrared is unseen, and the blue is the visible, what you see. Anyways, so as you go down, the circles get tighter and tighter. So as you get to, like 1 degree, that is a very tight little pebble pearl right there, a very tight packed, tiny little circle. And then as you go out, it loosens its grip. So it's like that. Um, if you make a, like, I guess I'm trying to, if you touch your Jupiter finger with your Mars, if you touch your pointer finger with your thumb, and that circle right there, like, you make that shape, and then you let your fingers, like, if you make that one, if people play that game where if you look at that symbol, I don't know, you get to punch them. I fucking forgot that game in school, but
Oh yeah.
made you look or whatever. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
if you look at the way your three fingers pop up, it's showing you that same exact formula right there, the owl eyes. So the magnetic coupling, the magnetic circles right there, they kind of unfold and they get lesser and lesser. So you as you approach 89 degrees, as right before 90, as you hit 90, you snap into straightness, crystallization, boom, matter,
Mm.
real matter. So that's
Mm.
cubic, that's all straight lines, that's all a whole different paradigm. You don't have your curves anymore. So that's the real father right there, is the 90
That's
degree
how
angle.
it's
That's why
cool.
you tie. That's why you give 10%, is so you
Mm.
can be at the 90. Yeah.
And then you spin it, which is how that's how processing works. So, which is like a coding language. So you're
Okay.
essentially programming the roots, and then what you get at the output is going to be your seed, or it's going to be the blooming of what your output is. So your roots are the programming, and then literally what it's doing is creating frames. Like I don't have a way to show this. I'm just
You're
explaining
good.
how
You're
it
good
works,
explaining it
but
well. You're explaining it well.
yeah, so and then this is a coding language which you can program anything, literally anything. So, um, you can like,
That's
but that's how it
cool.
works. So because it takes the idea of what you're coding, right? So when you're coding anything, right, you're gonna have an output of that's more than likely gonna be a square. So you've already got your right angle right there. But then what that's
Right.
doing is spinning, so it operates based on frames. So I think the default is 60 frames a second, which is pretty fast. And then it's
That is
spinning,
pretty quick.
and the roots are essentially the code, right? And then what you're getting is your output is your
Right.
spinning right angle measurement with which in my opinion, when I think of a right angle, it makes me think of a square as well. But it's like uh, that's like a thought form or the number four, right? So you've created
Right.
that form, and then it's just like, in my opinion, what we're doing is literally explaining how to manifest, or like I guess like create light or create reality. That's what it feels like.
Right, right. Yeah, if you look at check out the image I just posted of this clover. This ties into the triangle and the delta and the right angles right there that you're talking about. I mean, if you look at these, I mean, it shows you how you've got the
Yeah.
Trinity or the three, and then look at those lines. I mean, those are pretty much all aspects and angles of the sun right there. It's different phases. And look at the clear little center where all three emanate from. Really, the whole entire triangle comes out from that center point right there. I mean, if you think about it, that
Yeah.
point packs the information because it has to go out at certain distances and pop all its stuff at the right spots in order to get
Hmm.
that triangle to appear.
Dude, you gotta watch the video I posted in the chat. It explains that exactly, even to
Does
fractal.
it?
Yep. Yeah. If
No
you
way.
watch
That's
it, you'll get
awesome.
you also get the pixelated what pixelated is, because they totally explains it too. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
fractal
that's
video.
right. The spin. I bet that, you know what, that 90 degree might be the turn, like you said, the spin. Like that's
Mm.
the once you hit that, once you snap. And you know what it is? That's it. The fucking pole is the metal pole, and then all the things that have arc is the sine wave light. That's exactly what it is, man. It's a mirror. It's like it hits that 90 degrees and it can't go through itself, so it causes arc. And then the ones with the 89-degree ones that are really close, they have a tight connection. They're mostly male, right? They're almost to that crystallization point right there, but they're the ones that come in and they're right on the surface, but they still bend back out and they loop back out. Um, those are two different things, because the 90 degree is literally a separate thing from all of those other angles. All it's a whole different ball game right there. It does not have any arc forever. I mean, that's
Mm.
incredible. I mean, forever. It never fucking bows down to the left or the right. It just boom, straight path. And
And
if
that
you
might
look
be
at it,
me.
right, dude, I know it.
How I
Like,
feel.
it's just straight crystallization, straight path. It's literally the ecliptic, like the 0 degree Aries and then the 0 degree Libra line right there. I mean, it's right. There's 2 days a year too where it's equal. Do you see that? I mean, we split off from equalness into duality of equalness. So when the sun goes up over the Passover on the Eastern equinox, we have that day of balance of light and darkness. And then when it goes down over the Western equinox portion in the fall, we have that balance of light and darkness. So we have two balances of light and darkness, and then we have one height of light and one height of darkness. So it's fucking pretty badassery system. Todd, show us these new cards you got, man. Tell us about them.
Sure. Let me
What
switch
do you
up.
got, man? Is this that video you were telling me about? The relationship between
Yeah. Yeah.
chaos,
Yeah, I
fuck.
shared it with everybody. You'll have to take a look at that
Mhm.
sometime. It's exactly that clover with the three colors, red, yellow, blue, and then how it relates to a fractal, but when they map the when they map the pattern into a fractal and then they continue to zoom out with the fractal, it's like exactly what pixelated is, which blew my mind really.
That's cool. And who ate it? Pixel ate it.
Right? Pie. Yum. So
That's it, dude.
this
And it's the axle. Look at that, the pi axle. Fucking dude, it's the life axle. I mean, that's pretty powerful.
So I got this new
And-
deck off of Etsy.
Okay.
It's called Shadowplay.
Okay.
Shadowplay Tarot.
Nice.
So it's got
Nice.
it's basically a regular card deck, but they have the Rider Waite built into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how many cards? Is it 52
70,
or is it
78.
okay?
They also
Okay, so
have the major arcana.
okay, wow, awesome. So it's like a shadowy side of the raid white deck or whatever that one is.
Well,
Rider Waite,
yeah, I don't know if
Raider
that's
White.
specifically the theme, but yeah, it's
That's cool, man.
um
All right, so
see
get us
so
a good one and then post it, I guess, in there, and then I'm excited, and then I'm outside, but I'll run in and grab some shit in a second. But I want to see what you got here,
yeah,
Todd.
no rush. Let me shuffle these good.
We're gonna do classic Todd? Just show us what we need to see.
Yeah, we're gonna do
What
that
are you
today.
feeling today?
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
That's always a good one because, man, I tell you, I mean, how do you even put words on it? Just show me. I
That's
mean, give me a symbol
exactly.
and yep.
All right. Shoot. Make sure I got the right thing. Alrighty. Let's see what we got. Ooh. I'll take a picture for you real quick. We got
Cool,
the Hierophant. I was kind of
Okay, the Hierophant there.
yeah.
Let's see what we got.
Where is the channel? Plus picture. Um. So it's basically the Rider Waite as the Hierophant. If we would have got the lower digit card or the minor arcana, they have both the regular trading cards. So maybe we'll see if there's one of those. Oh yeah, here we go. We could use the underlying story too if you want, which is the bottom card, which is the Jack of Hearts. Uh oh, I think I lost Barry. Give me a sec, everybody. Let's see what's going on here. He's probably got kicked off from downloading the images. Make sure we're still online. Yes, we are still good. Alright, so we gotta get Barry back. Here we go. I can hear you.
Yeah, Bubba. My bad, man. Um, yeah. So right away, I like the fact that this deck right here doesn't have the color. So I see that it wants to give you the same symbolism, but it doesn't want you distracted by the color.
Yeah.
So, which is very important for the actual form or the shade or the moon nature, the true action behind what's colored. Because in life, we can always, you know, we can even act and do many things, put a lot of color on it, cause this big image to be seen, but there's something going on in the background, the true form and the true nature of something. So with this here, you pulled the number 5, the Hierophant. This is a very, very sacred position. The 5th, it's the step above. It's the step into real matter. It's real extension from a 2D cube. So you've got the north, south, east, west cardinal directions. We're on the cardinal cross here. So we're a snake eating its tail. They've got us looking around in a circle. Okay, we're a hunter chasing an animal. We're a dog after some food. We're distracted by this circle. If you take your hand and you keep it on a level plane and you keep spinning it around, that's causing a 2D circle right there. So we're light on a 2D circle. And then you've got the form side of, so that would be what's colored. That's the image right there. What's causing that image to be made is the Hierophant, is the 5th. So the extension from the 4 goes into the 5 and the 6. The 5 is the first step into matter, into real matter. So it's caused through the pyramid, and it's the center of the 4 cardinal directions. Okay,
Yep.
so it's going to be the center of the pyramid. It's why the top center of the pyramid is showing you multiple things right here. It's showing you that's the center in a bird's eye view, and then also on a sidereal view, it shows you it's got a crystal clear center. It's unseen center right there, and it's an unseen triangular center down to a pinpoint emanating as a cone. And in the beginning, that's the vowel system, the unseen, and then it crashes out into the seen and the visible. You can hear it once it hits the mouth, but you can't hear it when it's in the mind state. So the Hierophant is the form behind it. So that mind that's forming the words, the mastermind, the pretty much the grand form, the grand etheric organization process, the moon, the Milky Way, all the whites that you see out there that are like that. This is all the etheric gas nature that keeps all things separated and divided. That's why the moon cycle, the 27.69, it's showing you how things get divided, how things get birthed, how they come to fruition, and the whole cycle of life and death is on the 27.69 circle. So it's the circle divided by 13, which is where we are, and it's the story of the B, of the 13, of the prime number 13. There, you can't divide it down anymore. You just can't. And when things fall into where they go, because that's what the etheric gas does, it organizes everything. All your outer bones, look at them. All your nails. Think of claws on an animal. They scratch things, rip things into pieces. Teeth rip things into pieces. They break sound up into words. I mean, they they crush the horns. Think of, so what, the outer bone system, the etheric system, all these things separate, they emit. So they send out this static charge from a center point, and they keep things separated, they cause space. So we're in the space of the moon, so we're inside of its bubble. We're also in the space of Mars. That's also, I mean, we're really in the space of all of them, but our two M&M rapper environments, moon and Mars, and we know Eminem's a rapper, but this is like a rapper with a W. Okay, so it's got, and flip the M's upside down, you get the W with the W wrapper, which is a wrapper that you put on something, and which is the surface once again. So the Hierophant here, it's showing you the 5th side of this, the pyramid, the fire side, so the mind side. Now down below, when it drops with the 6th, it goes down and under the 2D plane, and it makes the tetrahedron, or the Star of David. So this point right here, you've come to the 5th position, you've gone up out of matter. So our form, our deep nature of our form and whatnot, the things that we're building to cause the image, it's showing us that they're coming from the Hierophant. They're coming from the mid, the fire in the center. The fire in the center is what's bringing, is what's the true form, and the true, don't get distracted by the color and the nature and the image, what's in living color.
Mhm.
The real form and the real shadow nature of something is the true purpose, the true meaning, the true interpretation. The color is very much the distraction and how it's expressed. Okay, so things can be expressed in many ways. So things can get colored many ways, but things
Mm.
have one form. Things have one shadow. So you're black or you're white, right? So you've got this, and that's why the moon and the Milky Way, it sits in this black and white space system. All this stuff, they pretty much, it's sick, dude. I mean, the moon, space, stars, planets, this whole thing that it's like a joke. I mean, they're in this actors guild and they've
Right.
pretty much they're just laughing at us and it's funny. We'll see who's laughing in the end.
Yeah,
That's
they ain't
all I gotta
laughing at
say,
me.
man.
You can laugh as much as you want.
Right?
You already lost. So,
That's it.
hey, did you
That's the
see the
best
other
way.
card? The underlying story?
Um, no, hold on, let me look.
So that's the bottom of the deck. That's the Page of Cups, which is also a
Oh, Page
Jack
of
of
Cups
Hearts.
and Jack of Hearts.
Yep.
That's neat. Yeah, because cups and hearts match. That would make sense. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got the jack. So, and it's showing you, okay, so we've got the all white and the black. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the white express side, the white is the Hierophant. So we're showing our coloring and what is going to contain all the light is going to be our Hierophant and our inner nature, that dark, what's attracting, what we're pulling in, shows you the Page of Cups. So, which is really the Knight of Cups again, is what you pulled, man. That's the Knight of Cups once again. We've had that come up on like 3 or 4 of the shows, dude, where we pulled this card. I mean, this is a huge card for something that's in our face right here.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, the Knight of Cups, we're supposed to be the knights. We're supposed to be the heroes that bear the cup, that are carrying it forward so you can become the king. You can't be a king without being a squire or being a page or being a knight. You've got to go through the battles and the tests and the rigmaroles of life, and you have to overcome them. You've got to be the light that goes through the darkness. So, I mean, it's very much something that I don't know. I mean, it's required if you want honed in light, and I think we all do. You don't want to be scared. You don't want the black to be able to pretty much, overtake you, or you don't want to have to turn back because you didn't know what to do. So once the black or the black, once it's done causing all that fear, you can go through it and you can see that that's all illusion and that's all Maya and that's all part of the image, and that the true form behind it, it's showing you that your true form is you're supposed to be that Knight of Cups, that Page of Cups, and you're supposed to be the brave cupbearer that builds a correct cup that it knows how to build, because now that it has all the knowledge, it's been able to look at all these different religions. It's been able to look at all these different sciences, and it's been able to connect all the dots. So what are you going to do with all that knowledge now? You're going to be the Knight of Cups, the one who carries it forward from out, with courage. You've got to take it, and you've got to take it to that next level, that fifth that's showing you express it. The pyramid, you express it with the real fire, the inner fire, and that kind of fire is never put out. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
great poll, man.
Nice.
Let me see. I've got,
Hey,
let's
listen to
see, I've got,
this.
what do you got?
Joshua White says, "You pulled the Knight of Cups per my request one show. In this show, you pull my card for my birthday and North Node."
No way. Wait, so for birthday in North Node? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
he's
guess
got
his
them all
birthday's
lined up.
January 5th, yeah.
Dude, it never fails, man. Never fails, Josh. That's it's always right there connected. I've got I'm gonna pull runes today, so I've got Josh was actually, he's big into the runes, and he'd be awesome to have on at some point. I think his knowledge of how the runic system works and it's laid out, I would
Mm,
really love to hear some of his thoughts on that, because it
yeah.
it really interests me. They fit really well together, and I've noticed that the symbols themselves, they're all in a particular order, I think, for a reason when you get right down to it, and there's a story that's being told. So um so I went to a shop in, I think, Bloomington in Indiana, and there was this voodoo shop like place, and this kind of new agey shop or whatever. She was actually really cool. She was running it out of her house, so it was real. She had actually a bunch of real elements and stuff you could buy. Like we got some like dragon's blood, and well, I say real elements and then I say dragon's blood, but
I feel it.
I mean, essentially, she just has access to, and if you think about all these things, these things are just loaded down with intention, is what they are, which is what really builds everything. So, it's all, these are all real things. These are all real trinkets that cause real things to come into creation. So, I ended up picking up a bag of runes there, and
Nice.
they're in onyx stone, so they're in pretty cool
Ooh,
black stone with a with gold lettering and whatnot. So I thought they were pretty damn neat. So I'm gonna pull one and we'll post that. We'll see what it says here. All right, let's see. I got flow. I got number 18. Let me see here. I'll take a little picture so we'll get that up. And right away, let me just think about flow real quick here. Let me get a little shot of that going. So flow's pretty interesting in itself. Very, very vital. It's an essential. It's essential. It's movement in itself, and it's really balance. I mean, you can't have flow without pretty much having some sort of balance going on in a way, because what you're taking from one area, you have to receive in another area, and then and if you're going to have something called flow, you need to be able to repeat the process. But I think an important part of flow that we might overlook is the ability to gain something from each time it goes around, right? So, I mean, the water can either, flow, and tumble over the rock and deteriorate it, and it can even bring out the precious gemstone and the clear qualities of it, or even the beautiful opaqueness of it. But it deteriorates nonetheless. But in a sense, it has to get to its beauty. So imagine almost even like a bodybuilder or something, or somebody that's really focused on their physical body image, and they do everything they can. They go through these processes where they add a bunch of weight and then they chisel it down. I mean, it's like a building on. And that's almost like what we've been talking about with the crystal process. You take in tons and shitloads of light, pure and impure, all forms, and then you whittle it down. I mean, that's what does it say? Pretty much it says to let all the crops grow up together, and then you'll know which is the wheat and which is the chaff. So once you have the tools, you're not going to need to battle anything anymore. You're going to just see things for what they are. So this flow I think is very important. I think it's important to let all aspects flow in and out of you. We were talking about it earlier, to constantly accept the now, what it's bringing you, and what kind of worth it has in it. What is being given to you each day. Each day is another opportunity to cause movements in your soul to adjust things to where you'd like them to be. You didn't come here for vacation. This is a place to work. This is a place to cause movements in a direction that's, appropriate for what you're trying to achieve. We don't know what we're all trying to achieve, which takes judgment really out of the picture. You can't say somebody's doing something right or wrong if you don't know what their path is, and you don't know if they're achieving their goal or they're not. If you think of light as one giant team that has one goal in mind, and we all play different parts to get to that one goal, there would be players on the left and right side in order to get the middle to appear. I mean, the only way you can get the middle to be so obvious and appearful is to get it to so obvious and opposite of it. Then it'd be, how do you not end up in the middle after, for all once you see the left being retarded, you see the right being dumb, it's just this dumb show circus going on back and forth. And where does it make you end up? How can it make you? What the hell is that paradigm where you have to choose the less of two? Who the fuck ever said that?
Right?
Just
Yeah.
go right down the middle. I
You should
mean,
just
it's
slap somebody in the face when they say shit like that.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just be balanced, you know? I mean, understand that all things have worth and value. A progressive nature has value. A conservative nature has value. All of these things are needed. All these things balance one another. So don't ever just sit on some dumb side somewhere saying that you're on the correct spot and everybody else is fucked. There's only one position that something like that is called for, and that's the center. And that's the only point where the distance between it and all the objects are of equal distance or proportional distances. And it's just a fact. I mean, you can't argue with what the center is, what the middle is. I mean, this is why Aristotle took Platonic philosophy and it pretty much took all that beautiful, rigid, perfect light and it whittled it down into the balancedness of human nature. And it showed us that the virtues are right in the center between good and bad. You know, it's not about being good all the time. It's not about being bad all the time. It's about balancing the two. It's not about being super courageous. It's not about being super cowardly. It's about balancing the two. The virtues in themselves, courage, they don't appear on the left or right, but they do appear in the center. So that's where the virtues appear. And then the vices appear on the ends. So each virtue has probably two vices of it, a left and a right angle of it. So for every virtue that's up on the top of a mountain, it's got a shitty left and a right that it can be and be expressed in. All right, let's get an Illuminati card, see what they're up to. See the mutual betrayal card. I think we pulled that a couple weeks in a row, which was neat.
Yeah.
You're kind of seeing a little bit of that right now. A lot of back and forth stuff. I mean, it seems like it. I mean, if there ever was a time where both sides, and you're seeing the mutual betrayal with the vaccination crowd people, like where they're pointing the fingers at one another. So I mean, you are seeing a lot of left and right, folks. If you're on the left and right now, you're just going to get whiplashed back and forth. It's just be in your heart, be in the center where it really matters. You know, the heart of the matter. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm not going to get super shuffly. I'm just going to
Josh.
FBI.
Ooh.
Nice. I'll post a picture here. Pulled an FBI card, so it says has +10 to directly destroy a criminal group, gives +4 on any attempt to destroy a group, blah blah blah, and it says straight government, science, and it says science too on it. So
Whoa.
we might end up seeing. Let me get a little picture here.
That's
Let's
interesting.
see.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys heard, but the people were protesting at the BBC yesterday.
I
Lots
did
of
hear about
people.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
That's cool, man. So be on the lookout for, I guess, I always look at these cards like, hey, show us something that might be happening, coming up on the radar, just so we can keep a close eye out on what dumb tricks they're trying to pull. So you might see something involved with the FBI coming up. This is a time of governmental power. It really is. I mean, it's why if I have to get debt slave tokens like everybody else, I've positioned myself to where I know when all the jobs in, there'll still be federal jobs there, and that will be the last of the pretty much jobs. Because if the federal system crashes, that's the good news, right? That means we're off into our own free will worlds where there's none of this money and debt slave notes. It's all because you're looking at Federal Reserve note system, baby. So I don't know. I try to change it from the inside out. Everybody I talk to on the phone during my work during the day, I try to be as compassionate as I can. I mean, if people's tax dollars are paying my paycheck, I try to give them a good bang for their buck and be the best advocate I can and find every little thing to get them the most usually money in their pocket. And I work a lot of death claims, so I mean people that just lost a spouse. I mean, I'm the perfect person to be able to help with that real quick. And
Yeah.
um but yeah, man, so FBI, be on the lookout there. I'm gonna of course just give it one classic rider tarot deck card here,
Sure.
and let me see. So let's ask a neat little question here.
Okay.
Um so let's see here. So what do we what do we want to know? um well, let's see. So we've got springtime coming up. Right now we've got stuff coming out. We're at a time of the year where everything's green and nothing knows what it is yet. It's kind of in terms of the zodiac, in terms of the birth process, you're at a point where things are going to start coming out into their color spectrums to show their full glory for the top of the visible nature light spectrum in Cancer at June 21st. And to get ready for that, you're going to see them go into this burst of color. It's like a mating ritual.
Hmm.
And just like the animals do with their colors, the plant kingdom does it as well. And this is how the animal kingdom learned all of their color moves was from the plant kingdom. The plant kingdom gave the animal kingdom its life, if you think about it. The plant kingdom is the kingdom that never left. They're rooted. They stay still. They have vitality. They give us all vitality. Everything we need to live is from the things that didn't start moving around. And yeah, granted, they move. They face the, sun, and they angle their branches and shit, and seeds go float through the air. But I'm talking about being rooted. Those things are rooted. Those are vitality, grounded system. That's our life force right there. That's the one system, the mono system. That's directly tied to the moon, the 90-degree angle system, things that spring up into matter. So what do we want to know? We want to know um, what kind of colors are we looking at? What flavor does this year have on it? What are we going to be looking at? What kind of true colors are we going to be seeing coming up for the cultures that we live in? What's going to be because if you look at where we're moving right now, they're going to try to sell us society again. Everyone's going to be all happy because they're going to have concerts and shit. And, it's going to be full bread and circus again. So, it seems like this is where the kill shot comes in. You take away something's candy for a long time, you starve it out, you give it all these dumb rules, you distract it while you do some shit, and then you release them off into the trap. And that's kind of to me what it feels like with what's coming up. They've given you free donuts, beer, and pretty much everything at this point if you'll go take one of their shots. And I mean, and then now they're coming up with finally Walmart will let you go in their store without a mask on if you've been vaccinated. So they're trying to almost cause a little division visibly with the people that are holding out versus the people that are all woohoo, let's go have fun finally. And I
Yeah, at
think,
Walmart.
you know, yeah, well, at Walmart nonetheless. But you know how Walmart's a nice big leader of the industry, so all the rules they adopt, everybody will follow. And yeah, man. So let's see what kind of colors we have on tap. Don't show us the obvious here. We understand, pretty much everyone that's listening can see the circus and the bread that's going to be thrown out. But maybe what's kind of in the back corners that, is really our true work that we're working on. Show us some of these deep colors, the form nature. Show us out of all the different things that could pop in from that form deck, like we had the Hierophant and the Knight of Cups again. Show us how we can color it, right? Show us how we should bring it into color on this deck. So let's look at that. I'm just going to pull it here now and stop. Oh boy. Well, I pulled the Fool, man.
Oh, new beginnings.
And yes, man. Let me look at and it sure is. So, all right. And you can chuck that up here in a sec. So I think that's very fitting and perfect right there. The Fool, remember the Fool, and we've talked about this a little bit right now. You got to unknow, right? To be the Fool, you have to go through there's two types of a fool. There's the fool who never tried to know and sits in foolishness. And then there's the fool who decided to get up out of foolishness and they decided to know and to not be foolish anymore. Those are both the two different kinds of foolish people. To graduate from that realm into the fool, you need to pretty much come into knowing that you can't know anything. That's the point where you graduate at. You just end up in a state of adornment for everything, and it's a state of expression. So it's he art, right? It's male art. It's for her to look at. So it's pretty much a playgirl. That's what this place is. It's the male coming through. It's a bunch of penises expressing, and the vagina's collecting seeds and making things in matter. I mean, that's everything comes through the woman. Everything that you look at here is through her. You can't see one thing. Even the pages of this book that I'm looking at came from a tree, that came from a seed, that came out of a woman. So, I mean, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. All the things you can't see, that's all the things that haven't been impregnated yet right there. So take a look around. All of that you can't see, that 97% has not been impregnated by the 3% that fell. So we still got 97% of our backbone left. It's not really a big deal yet. It's not a time to like scream home. But to be the fool here, how we bring this into color, folks, a wise person can always play dumb, but a dumb person can't play wise. So even if you're on that knowledge part where you're on the knowledge part of the fool, you haven't graduated into unknowing, and you're still holding on to a lot of things you think you know. I mean, seriously, that's a step right there that has to be released. You have to understand that you're not going to have access to pure truth from this spot. It's not what it's about. This isn't this isn't pure logos truth world. This is love, compassionate life, gift of existence and expression world, art,
Mm,
creative. This
yeah.
is where you learn to be a creator. This is not
Experiences.
where you learn. Yes, I mean it's and you know what? I mean, some things will try to create perfect things here, and it's been done, and it will be tried many more times.
Right.
But the bottom line is it's a place of expression. It's a place to manifest. It's a place to. That's why the fool. Look at that. New beginnings, dude. He's ready for his journey. He's got his little happy dog. He's happy. He's heading off. The sun's at his back. I
Off the
mean, he's
cliff.
got the whole day ahead of him. Look at that. The sun's rising. The whole day's ahead of him. I mean, he's got all his stuff packed in a neat little satchel on a stick. And I mean, and the flower of the woman in the left right there, that which blooms and blossoms, and the cane of the right, the access and the unseen pole, the unseen father with the red infrared feather coming in at the pineal, the infrared light pole that you're probably receiving it all in, the white undertones. So birthed out of all electricity comes from Uranus and consciousness. That's why it's got a different perpendicular spin and access. And then you can see what it wears. It wears the cloth of colors. All the different sun wheels and all the, that's all the intra planets right there. So it's showing you the a beautiful seed ready for impregnation, unknowing. And that's what we need to be. We need to be ready. We need to be the Knight of Cups that's ready to receive the pure light. You can't receive the pure light if you're holding on to all this shitty light you've been collecting and you think is cool. So you've just gotta. Sometimes it's good to just get into it. Like I mean, like you said, like I've kind of been going through. I've been going through just a nice, relaxed, gentle, kind of unknowing. Just trying to. I've been working on some projects, doing things, and just staying busy with what I'm presented with, and keeping up with my duties, and it's just a. I mean, even that could be a fallacy, getting trapped in duties, but I do that out of love anyways. So, I mean, I've already transmuted all that bullshit. So I mean, it's the Fool is a perfect card how to express, that Hierophant form. So don't go around if you are blessed with all these beautiful inner wisdom coming through and streaming into you, just showing you what everything is all the time, know how to express that. Take that wisdom further and know how to bring it properly into the image. Know how that appears, because if you don't know how that appears, you still have some learning to do in that category, because knowing how something manifests and appears into a dualistic land of polarity with a left and a right, you have to know the balance midpoint, what's casting the image. I mean, it's all coming from the center. So light hits the center and it reflects into the left and the right. So it's like you go back, and that's why it's the pre-sent. So before you send it, you got to know what's in the package, and then you send it, and then you got to know where you're sending it to. I mean, nobody who even knows where the fuck they're going from here yet. I mean, it's got to be a pure state of trust, right? I mean, that's all you can have is just trust that.
Yeah, it's like a
You're in good
general
hands, man.
existential faith that like you have to be here. It feels like.
Really? Yeah. I mean, because if you don't, and if you have its opposition, would be this general state of fear, like that is which is what they try to get us to believe, and they try to teach us that this is all circumstantial, happenstance, just randomly got lucky, popped up
Right.
over here,
Yeah.
and get it while you
For
can.
no
I mean,
reason.
that is right.
Yeah.
That is the biggest story of baloney they could ever have even attempted to feed us, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker, man.
Well, it's
So
multi-generational indoctrination too. I mean, it's
it
like
is
you figure our grandparents were all
absolutely.
taught that, and you know, sign. You get these people with the goofy signs out in their yards, like science is real. It's like, okay,
Right.
I don't have
I'm
time
gonna
to
pull.
sit here and explain it to you.
I'm
Hey,
gonna pull a real quick for Josh real quick. He pretty much asks me each week, so I'm just gonna
yeah,
help him
yeah,
out this week on his travels if he's still on there.
yeah, for sure.
And let me see, Josh, because we're about at our time here, and so I'm gonna get into Wheel of Fortune.
Ooh, good card.
There you go, the 10 card. Yeah, man. So the 10 card, the Wheel of Fortune. So you have a good week with this right here, Josh. That is a pretty good week to, if you've been waiting to execute, pull the trigger on some things, make some choices. It shows you that coming up, you're in a week of good fortune. So really listen, really trust. Just be ready to pretty much be in good favor. Good fortune is not always a money or a monetary thing. It might feel you might have a week of the best you've ever felt, like in a year. Like you just might feel amazing. Like it just might feel really good. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Jupiter is hitting the part of fortune part on the natal of the Earth, so on the Earth's zodiac. So I think that's actually coming up to the proper positioning too. So that's pretty interesting there. On that card, you've very much got a lot of Jupiter with the blue and the yellow. And it is his world of fortune. So you've look at the red too, the infrared sitting there on its back on the wheel. That's you on the surface going around on the loo right there with the sine waves too, the little yellow snakes coming in, and that's the sound. But Josh, man, you enjoy that. Everybody else who listen and stay with us, we really appreciate it. And like, share, comment. We love interacting with people. We love having people on. If this is something you've listened to and you enjoy it, try to get a hold of myself or Todd, and come join us on a show. Let us know what you're interested in, what goes through your mind, and pretty much we'd love to hear it. And I'm sure a lot of other people would too. So.
Yeah, I did put out
Yeah,
a couple
man.
emails recently to see if some people would go on. We'll see here, hopefully.
Okay. Cool, man.
Yeah,
Cool, cool.
yeah, y'all. Thanks.
So, you know what? And we
Awesome.
got episode 10 coming up next week, which the Wheel of
Wheel of
Fortune
Fortune.
card is number 10. So that's a neat tie-in. This is a fun episode 9, Todd. I mean,
Yeah,
you have
great.
yourself a great week coming up, man. And I don't think we have any Mother's Days or anything coming up next week. So it should be online for Sunday meetup. We'll maybe do a live show one of these weekends, like we've been talking about. Get out in some nature and just chill by a
Yeah,
little creek and just hang out.
yeah, that'd be cool.
One, two, three, four, man. That's it.
Perfect.
Shut her down.
Boom. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.